So I'm testing every single week. I'm adapting, I'm adjusting, I'm retesting, adapting, adjusting. It's a game, it's boxing, and you got to be on your toes. The ABCD formula works like this, and we just call it that because it was just what we started doing. There's no professional name for it. It works like this. To win in content, you first need to test. If you don't just go make 40, 50, 60 videos, you're never going to win anyway. If you just go make 3 or 4 and think, oh, this didn't work, I'm out. It's like everything. So when you start your podcast, you could have made 3 or 4 episodes and only get 30 downloads. You have to keep at it, right? It's the same with content. Nothing's different there. But what does make the difference is now when you've got those 40, 50, 60 videos, each week, are you obsessing over them? Are you going through and saying, okay, this one did great. We're going to highlight this one green.
Hello and welcome to Best Story Wins. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jason. And today our guest is Chris Cunningham, a founding member of ClickUp, one of the OG 4 that started the company. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm happy to be here, man.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, happy to have you on. So Chris, as we get started here, I'd love it if you could just kind of start us off with giving us a quick overview of your backstory and also share a little bit about what you handle and oversee there at ClickUp.
Yeah, so I'm from a small town, no mall, no movie theater. I met the other founder of ClickUp at Virginia Tech when we went to college together. We had started an agency because we were kind of bored at school. We also managed a rapper prior to that, fun fact, but we started this agency to kind of learn social media. And, I went to graduate and go work at a company called Cvent. I was the youngest manager there, did inbound sales. Company grew really well, got to see it go public. But at the same time, I was always kind of helping, my college friend, Zeb. And from there, as soon as we went public and I got my stock, I left. And my parents thought I was crazy. My family was like, why are you leaving this great corporate job to go work for your college buddy? But I always believed in him. I knew he was something different. I knew he was something special. So we really grew that agency in Charlotte until one day he had a near-death experience and he wanted to change the world in a different way. He's like, I don't want to be these guys who grow social media. I want to, change the world. So we started an app called Memory. Memory was a Snapchat competitor. To build this, we moved all the way across to, from Charlotte, North Carolina, to live in a house together in Palo Alto, California. And, we really had a lot of buzz. We thought this app was going to be a big deal until Snapchat came out with Snapchat Memories. We lost everything. We lost the investments. We had a little bit of money left. And luckily we had built this tool that we called Mission Control Center. And it was just your, simple project management tool because Zeb hated logging into Asana for some people and Trello for others and Jira for developers. He thought it made no sense. And he thought that they were kind of lazy and made you work a certain way. And from there, we took the last of our money and we went all in. We talked to all our neighbors. We had the CTO of Facebook here, CLO of Intel here. We're like, what do you need? Like, what do you hate about your project management? So we obsessed over asking everyone and we built for like a year and a half, 2 years. And that's kind of how, my backstory and how I got involved with ClickUp. And I was our first sales rep, first customer service rep, closed our first deal, our first, large deals. And now I'm in marketing and that's my true passion, what I always wanted to do, but I was just trying to add value where I could in the early days.
That's so cool. So you've had a really fascinating path, from, as you touched on, sales to co-founding the company and now leading social marketing. How did you end up overall in the world of brand marketing?
It's funny. Before doing all this, I had also, I'd really learned social media and I had a lot of cool clients during that time. We were growing social media for some of the biggest names you see online today. We had major clients and I stayed in touch with them. And one of them had me help him with his agency. And, I got to pick influencers and spend money for a lot of big brands, more in the B2C side. And, Celsius, Fashion Nova, and these people had large budgets and I was learning a lot. And then, so as I was doing all this for ClickUp, I kept telling the team like, hey, look, I really feel like everything that happens in B2B already happened in B2C. Like influencer marketing is just starting to kind of happen here. Like I think it actually really hadn't happened yet. I was like, we should get ahead of it, right? We should get ahead of influencer marketing. And then I started seeing this trend. I start seeing, same thing. I see it with brands hiring, actors to be in their social full time. And I was like, let's take a bet and do that there. So a lot of what I'm doing is just seeing what I see happen for these water bottle companies or these big energy drinks. And I try to find a way to bring it back to B2B, obviously in its own way. But really what happened was when I really moved off from sales, when I went to Zeb, I was like, hey, look, I'm not, this has been great, but I'm not the guy. Yeah, we need someone who's done this before. Like I love being the VP of sales here. It's a rocket ship, but I am overwhelmed. I don't exactly know some of this. And that's when we brought in Matt Bauman from Pinterest. And I was like, look, let me just figure out where I fit in. And I started hopping in on marketing and, I had some really great influencer campaigns. And I think from there, our COO Guar was like, dude, you're my brand guy. Like, you can build our brand. You're in touch with what's going on, what's cool with the world. You're scrappy. I want you to just keep building our brand. That's all I want you to do.
That's super cool. So you all chose the productivity space, which is, I think, from what I understand, a pretty challenging market to not only build a business in, but also stand out, right? There's a lot of players there, a lot of legacy players. What are some of the key decisions that you all have made that have contributed to you being able to stand out and build what I believe is a really strong brand?
Early on, I think we were just insanely scrappy. Like we scoured. So even when it was the early days and the team was just building, trying to get the product out, I was just studying the competition, right? And then every single week I would do a presentation. Hey, this is what I learned about Smartsheet. This is what I see Reich doing. Like this is what they do. This is where people are complaining. We also built a tool called AppGator that would just pull every negative review from our competition, right? So every week I'm just reading what everyone hates about the competition. The dev team knows what to build, and then I know who to hit up when I'm trying to sell, right? Because I can go find them on LinkedIn. It's not that hard to find from a name, and go find them and reach out on LinkedIn. Hey, I understand you hate Asana. We hate them too. That's why we're building this new tool. We didn't like the way they made you work. Right. So it worked as a lead magnet. And then from there, we were always trying new things. Like I think what everyone did in the productivity space in the early days was just take themselves too seriously. Like, oh, we cannot make a funny piece of content, or that CEO might not buy our software. That it's bullshit. It's not true. Like at the end of the day, like I know a ton of CEOs now, more than most, and they're just real people. Right. They're just like us. Like they still might pull up a TikTok or an Instagram here and there. I'm not saying you're going to go close all your CEOs on TikTok, but I'm saying don't think you have to make every video as being stuck up in a suit. Like they want to laugh too when they get off work, or even if you don't want to make them laugh, make them learn something or speak to what's going on in the community or in the world. That's what I think really made our brand stand out. We made rap videos. Some hit, some didn't. Like we did all the things other companies weren't doing. Took a lot of swings, took a lot of at bats. So I think having no fear and really, really knowing that we wanted to be different and not take ourselves too seriously is why we stood out.
You and a lot of people have talked about the importance of authenticity, I think, in social media, but in general, that's one of those words that is a powerful, meaningful word, but unfortunately sometimes becomes a cliche because it's maybe overused and not always followed through on. How do you balance that? And, what's your overall viewpoint on what that actually means? And how do you balance that with the need for also being, professional and consistent?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Like I never want to put out a piece of content that's going to make one of my sales reps lose a deal, right? That's the last thing I want. So we're careful about that. Like we're pretty safe. Like legal checks our videos before they go out. I check every video before it goes out. Like nothing will I take a risk on. Like if I even think it's close, I don't care about the views that much. As for being authentic, the good thing is like, I've been here since the beginning. I know who we are. Authentically, we do love to laugh at ourselves. We do love to poke fun. We might take a swing at our competitors. We might make a video calling out our competition. That's who we are. It's who we've always been. We're competitive. We like to make jokes, but at the end of the day, we're still buttoned up. Like for as much funny content as I make, I still make very serious content as well, right? We still build great content about our product. Our commercials still look great. They look good. Our CAC payback is great because they perform. So I'm still data driven. I'm still obsessed with data. If tomorrow these comedy videos weren't hitting and weren't doing well and we weren't hearing them brought up on sales calls and, some major deals coming in saying, hey, I first just was laughing at your social media. Now I'm here. Or if I wasn't even building, a machine around making sure we get leads and direct calls from our social media, I would change it. But we are. And we love it. We love to watch our own videos. I love watching our videos. They made me laugh. Our CEO loves it. The team loves it. The company's proud, I think, to have to have social media that people share around. Like our first super viral video, I can't tell you how many employees were like, my mom just shared this with me, not because she knows I work at ClickUp, because she just saw it as a funny video. How cool is that, right? Like that's a cool moment. And I think it also just gets people talking. So rather than just create the same old carousels like everyone else, this is our play and it's authentically us.
Yeah, when we were talking a little while back, you mentioned that you all are hitting over 200 million impressions per month. Can you unpack a little bit about what the strategy is there? You mentioned some more comedic videos. Is that kind of the singular direction, or is it a little bit more complex than that?
It's definitely, I mean, it's a complex mission to hit 200 million organic impressions in 1 month. And just so you know, I'm always transparent. I've dropped down a little below that, right? We're in the, mid 100, like around 150 now. It's tough to keep that going, right? So I'm having to readapt. I'm having to get back up to it. We hit it once. It was a wise strategy. Yes, the comedy videos were probably hitting around 80 million of that. We also started a meme page. Our meme page started to take off, but we realized that down the road with the meme page, that's why I'm under 200 now. Some of these memes that we were doing, it's like the memes that everyone does, right? You put Kevin Hart on something and, there's funny like workplace memes, but we can't take that risk, right? Like I can't do anything that might come back into legal. So I had to cut the meme page, which was bringing in probably about like 60, 70 million. So I'm having to readjust for that. But most of it is comedy. I have another show called Almost Quitting Time. Almost Quitting Time, I think with no G, I think is how it's spelled, or maybe it has a G. But it's doing really well as well. I think it's at like 50,000 followers on Instagram, 40 on TikTok. And it's high end. I basically found these amazing actors out of LA and they already shoot their own TV shows. I was like, hey, look, let me help you fund your other shows and you shoot for us too. You shoot your stuff and shoot for us. And they're shooting amazing work and that's doing well. I also have ClickUp on the street where we go do on the street interviews and I can catch some millions, of impressions from that. And then I have our product content. I have our middle of funnel. And those don't go as viral, but they're still just as important to me. I'm actually still ramping that up. So even if I hit a little less, I think we've done the job. It's like what we did 3 years ago. 3 years ago, you couldn't go outside without seeing a billboard or a bus wrapped by ClickUp, right? We wanted you to see us. We wanted to be in your face because we wanted people to know who we are. We were newer to the block. Now I've done that again. I built my own digital billboard. And I'm still going to continue to do that. These impressions are important to us and being top of mind is extremely important. So we can always be one of the options in a decision for project management. But now it's like I'm focusing on a lot of this use case content. So we do a lot of, AI stuff as well. I talk to my blog team, what's hitting, what's working. Okay, I need to go make a video for that. I do a lot of UGC. I'm working on a micro influencer campaign. So, I mean, it is a lot. It's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of testing, like to win consistently with business content, it's not even just generic content is hard. So I'm testing every single week. I'm adapting, I'm adjusting, I'm retesting, adapting, adjusting. It's a game. It's boxing and it's, you got to be on your toes.
And you've talked a bit about the ABCD framework for content. Can you break down that approach for us and explain a bit about how that guides your overall content strategy?
The ABCD formula works like this, and we just call it that because it was just what we started doing. There's no professional name for it. It works like this. To win in content, you first need to test. If you don't just go make 40, 50, 60 videos, you're never going to win anyway. If you just go make 3 or 4 and think, oh, this didn't work, I'm out. It's like everything. So when you start your podcast, you could have made 3 or 4 episodes and only get 30 downloads. You have to keep at it, right? So same with content. Nothing's different there. But what does make the difference is now when you've got those 40, 50, 60 videos, each week, are you obsessing over them? Are you going through and saying, okay, this one did great. We're going to highlight this one green. This one did okay. Maybe if we change the headline, it would have done better. Let's repost it. So you need to go back and then be changing. And then what you need to do is start putting these in buckets. So when I had those HR guys dancing and it just went insane, we got 100 million videos on one view. Obviously, I made that an A because an A is something I'm going to do again. It is a format. And now my goal of all of this is to get as many A's as I can because I know that an A will do better next time. It already did well once. The algorithm liked it. People loved it, right? So now I still make those videos to this day. It's been over a year. I still make videos of those guys dancing. They don't get 100 million every time, but they hit a smooth 2 to 6, and that's good views. That's still consistent. I mean, someone new is still seeing me. So then I keep trying. But now what I'm trying on the other stuff is a B. A B is just basically something I've either seen before or, something like an idea we've had, like maybe something that's kind of already out there and we make it into our own format, right? Like we turn to our thing. So maybe there's like this, maybe we see a video of a restaurant, doing something. They talk about the extreme tips. So maybe we do it at ClickUp. Maybe we show the CEO and it's a real video. This is the idea. So I know it's fresh and real. Showing, hey, do you want to tip your team here? Do you want to give them pizza or you just want to give them a real bonus, And so we just take it and put it into our version. A C is a trend. When those action figures came out and you saw every brand do it, like the action figures when GPT could create them, that's a trend. Why not hop on it? They're getting a lot of views. Jump into maybe it's the show Severance came out. That's a trend. A lot of people are talking about it. Whatever people are talking about, we're going to jump in. And then D is my favorite. D is what no one else does. And that is when you just experiment with the unconventional. That is when you just have a random idea that no one else could ever think of. No AI, no GPT prompt could ever give you this. That's just something, hey, I had this idea in the shower. Maybe maybe the CEO is out, golfing, and he shows that he thinks he can actually work while he's golfing. That's a great idea. Let's run it. So each week in our writer's room, we're coming with a bunch of mix of all. I have repeats of A's. So, okay, I know that this one worked hard. Now let's do it this way. I know that corporate jargon worked this way. Let's use this words in the corporate jargon video now. Let's try it this way. Then I do my B's, right? Okay, I saw this work last week for so-and-so. I think we can turn around and do it this way. C, I saw this trend. A lot of people are doing it. This song is popular. Let's make a video on that, bring it back to business. And then D, what's the random ideas you had? What's the crazy stuff you had that no one else has thought of? And then that's how I run it. And we take a few, we write out the ideas, we shoot them on Thursday.
So you guys are ideating weekly, is that right?
Every week, yeah. Really twice a week. We're talking the beginning of the week to get things out. Then we're green lighting. Really, we're talking like 3 or 4. Then we're green lighting the ones that work, and then we fine tune them. Then we shoot them, and then Friday we're analyzing.
How many people are involved in that ideation process, and how big of a role, if any, does looking at your competitors play?
I don't watch them until they make better content. I used to. I'm not gonna say I never did, but I don't have any. I don't see Monday. I don't see Sign. I don't see them doing that. I'm sure they're trying. I mean, I've seen some of them hiring for a role similar to mine now. That knows creators and things like that. But for the team, I have 2 actors that are full time. I told them if they did well for us, I'd hire them full time, and I stayed true to my word. And they work for ClickUp full time, and they're awesome, and they're making videos every single day. Luke and Adam. I have Stormy, who's kind of our social media manager. So she's doing the posting, she's making sure everything's smooth, and does a lot more than that too. It helps stay in touch with all the influencers. And then we have Mark. Mark Somerville is an absolute genius. He came from managing a major social media presence prior to this. He's newer to the team, but he was working as a consultant. He does a lot of other things for ClickUp, so he's not heavily involved. He's not in every single meeting on that, but high level, he comes in a lot. And every now and again, I'll bring in a different writer or a different actor that acts with us. I'll say, hey, look, why don't you come to our writer's room? Like, sometimes we just need fresh ideas. It's hard when you're doing this week after week after week. So I bring in other ideas. So yeah, you got like 5 people.
It sounds like, I mean, you called it a writing room at first. I'm like, yeah, I want to hear how this actually is structured, but the way you described it, I mean, it sounds like a TV show, the way that they're ideating and working together. That's really cool.
We treat this like TV. We call it ClickUp TV, and that's a team, and that's how we run.
Humor obviously plays a part, at least sometimes, in the content. And I'm curious how that is represented in your brand voice overall. Like humor is obviously subjective, and some brands do that really well. Some do it pretty poorly. Sometimes it comes off like, we're a cool, quirky, zany brand, which kind of can backfire, but certainly like integrating it in the right moments can be a great way to show some personality. How do you think about that as, either a core part of the brand voice or just something that you sprinkle in occasionally? How do you approach that?
So I've tested it. I've tested sprinkling it in more. And, I've made funny videos when it comes to doing demos of the product, and it just didn't hit. It just didn't hit the same. So I think I've learned my level of where it's at. I'm not going to be like tone deaf. I would say that when we're writing a caption for a product video, when we're speaking to you about our product, we're always serious, right? Like we're not really joking about the product. We're not joking about the hard work and the, 400 or 500 engineers we have working very hard to make our product amazing, right? We're not joking about that. We're joking to get your attention top of funnel. We're joking to say you don't take ourselves too seriously, but so I think there is a fine line for it. And when we're speaking about the product and our SEO, we might have something here or there, but for the most part, you go look at anything written, our blogs stuff is pretty serious. When you go look at, our CEO sharing something, it's pretty serious. We might have him in a video here and there. He's a funny guy too. But it's not really, what we do on the day to day. So I think, there's definitely a line to it. We're not like one of those brands of everything we do, we try to be funny. We're not on here like Wendy's on Twitter going unhinged and saying crazy stuff, right? Like that's not how far we want to take it. We just like making funny videos. We like to make you laugh a little bit. But when it comes to our job, we're serious. And I think we do a good job of keeping that balance.
I like hearing that Wendy's is sort of like one of the guardrails. So, one of the things I've heard just over the years in working in this industry is that it's sometimes tricky for especially junior people to like speak up in that writer's room setting or in brainstorms. Like, how do you lead the creative efforts there and foster a culture where like everyone feels safe to throw out their crazy ideas? Because it sounds like you guys are doing this and people are contributing. So something that you're doing is working. Love to hear you talk about that a bit.
Oh yeah, I think everyone knows. I'm pretty well known in the company, man. I've been here since day one. I'm very friendly. I'm in the office a lot. Even though I'm in Miami, I fly to San Diego all the time. I'm at all the company events, and I speak to everyone. So I think everyone's pretty comfortable with me. And I make it very clear. I speak in our all hands like, hey, look, if you have a good idea, I want to know about it. Like if you see something on your feed, I want to know about it. I'll even reward them. We have these things called ClickBucks, where I can basically give out like what's money in ClickUp. You can go buy like things off Amazon or whatever, give back to charity, whatever you want to do. And so I'll give out ClickBucks if anyone sends me a great idea and we use it. So I think it's quite the opposite. I don't think there's anyone afraid. I would never tell anyone that no idea is bad, right? At the end of the day, if something's not good, if we don't use it, I think it's the best part is we don't really put a lot of emphasis on it. So some people want to join our writer's room. We always let them. And if they join it at the very end, we'll always let people in. And at the very end, we just go through and we're like, okay, what was, we all vote on our own. So there's no like, hey, that idea sucked. We basically just, hey, these are the ones that got chosen. If yours didn't get chosen, we got some pretty big experts in here that really work hard at their ideas. There's no ego. We don't, make fun of the ones who don't. So I would say it's probably one of the safest places you could ever be to bring an idea to.
That's really cool. Do you have people coming in from like HR or product and opposite want to just like on a random Monday or Wednesday or whatever, like join the creative conversation?
I've had sales solutions engineers. I've had HR. I've had almost one from every title come in, and I love to have it. Sometimes I'll bring people from outside of ClickUp. Someone that's like, I have a friend, they have a cool idea. I'm like, bring them in. They want to hang out and chat. And some people just want to see how it works. Like some people are just kind of fascinated. So some people just come in and sit. They don't want to bring an idea, but they just kind of want to see us in action. They're always welcome. They're fun anyway. So
how do you tell someone that their idea is not going to make the cut?
We don't really say it. It's just, well, I mean, it's obvious, but I mean, there's so many ideas in there that's not a big deal. So we just we vote at the end and we're like, okay, these are the 6 that made it. Great work, everybody, and then it's just into the next meeting and we don't really harp on it. The next meeting we go in and then we fine tune those 6 that made it. And what I also love that we do, I actually love this. If someone really believes in their idea and it didn't work, like we tell them, hey, please do speak up. Like if you just feel it, in your gut and your soul. We've had a couple of times where we didn't vote. None of us liked it, but the person was actually Adam was one of the most recent ones. Was like, hey, look, man, I know this one, no one's getting it, but I think he's like, I'm a little older than you guys. I think my genres or my generation is going to get this. And he was right. But we did it. We still made it anyway. If anyone believes that, all power to you. We want to do it. So I think that gives people kind of a little faith too, to know like, hey, look, maybe that one didn't hit, but if they believe in it, we'll still run it.
When you think about these brainstorming settings and so forth, and it sounds like you have a great culture of contribution and broader people outside of marketing, at least contributing, someone who's taking ownership of content creation. How do you go about guiding that? Like, is there usually like known themes or kind of content lanes that you're, trying to brainstorm within? Do you put out a new brief each time, or is it like kind of just a come with whatever you want at any stage of development on the idea?
Great question. I mean, I'd probably love to say I'm more buttoned up than we are. We want you to come with the idea basically almost ready, because we will, like sometimes on the fly, we'll riff on it, like, oh, what if we did this, or this is better if we do this. Like a lot of they get punched up as we're even just going over them quite quickly. And then the next day we really punch them in, but we like it if you can come with it kind of ready, like, hey, this person speaks here, this one speaks here. But if someone just has an idea, we want them to still bring it. Like sometimes, like I might have an idea right before the meeting and I'll still put it in. I'm like, hey, this is not fleshed out. I want to flesh it out here. What do you guys think about this? And if no one's feeling it, then I won't waste our time fleshing out. But people are like, oh, it's a lot of energy. Like I think it makes the writers room so good is we're all like animated. It feels like it's like we're taking an improv class. Like we're all kind of like starting to play the role. And as a kid, I used to shoot videos. I was obsessed with doing this. So it's kind of crazy. I get to do it for my corporate job, and it's it couldn't be more fun. So like everyone in there's having fun. But yeah, we don't have any briefs. I don't say like, hey, this week do this, this, and this. I just basically say, hey, look, watch content for the week. Think of what you like, and also just think about what you go through, in your day to day. Because a lot of the stuff people just want to be relatable.
Yeah. So One of the themes I've seen talked about on LinkedIn for, gosh, I don't know, 5, 10 years now is this idea that marketing teams should think and operate like media companies, right? And a lot of times you'll see these posts on LinkedIn, and like at surface level, it makes sense. And I think it resonates with people, but oftentimes they're really light on actionable advice. It sounds like from what you've shared, you all are kind of doing this. Like you're working like a media team. You call these meetings like the writer's room. You talked about ClickUp TV. What advice that's actionable would you give people looking to build an in-house creative and content operation like what you all have?
Yeah, great question. And one, I think you can't halfway do this. There is no like, oh, let's make a couple videos this week and let's post them. Like you need to build a machine around it. You need to know what days you're talking about it, what days you're editing them, what days you're shooting them. You need to know who's editing the videos. You need to know who's posting the videos. Are you A/B testing the headlines? Are you changing things up? Are you going back and reposting things to learn what happened? Are you obsessing over like figuring out why this one didn't hit? So I think the small actionable item I'll say number one is either you better have someone who's a real actor at your company, or you're going to go need to hire that. That is a position. And if I were just trying to make these TikToks, it would have hit. If I were just the one doing it, we'd never gotten but so far. And I was the one at the beginning, but I got the team to listen to me and do a trial. The second thing I'll tell you is in anything in content, ads, whatever, testing, always start. It's a pretty common thing, but do this. Like I started with a low budget. I started with one creator and just a budget, and being scrappy at the beginning. Just say, look, let's work hard. If you do this well, I promise you I'll have a full-time job for you. I promise. And, stay true to your promises. But I did. And so I feel really good about that. So I stayed scrappy at the beginning, tested. Then I showed the board and, our COO. And of course, it's easy to unlock more budget when I'm showing a growth in views. And we know what these views are worth to us. The next thing I would say is, yeah, you need to have some kind of writer's room, like get some people together. If one person is just coming up with the ideas, one person is shooting it, that's great, but they can only go but so far. And again, I think they'll get a little burnt out. It's kind of tough. It's a lonely game if you're just doing everything yourself. You have no one to bounce ideas off of. You start questioning yourself. Because at the beginning we had that with Luke, and he was doing really well, but then he kind of hit like a plateau where he was like, like how many ideas can I think of? And then that's when we hired the second actor and build the writer's room around him. So I'm not saying you have to build two actors, but support the one you do have. Like support them with writer's rooms, with ideas. If they have to do it all themselves, it can be a pretty tough journey. And yeah, the last thing I would say is you really, really have to set up a formula to be obsessed, to be checking. You can use Excel if you're in the 90s. You can use ClickUp if you're in today's world. Whatever you want to do to start putting the data in and build a dashboard, use some tool to be checking, to be in the know and to understand what's growing and what hit and what didn't, because otherwise you're just playing the game blind, and people are getting too good now to play that game. It's hard enough now with playing the game well. It's really hard if you're playing it blind.
Now we need an air horn or a cash register when it's time to transition to measurement and ROI questions. Just like, you touched on this a little bit when you saw, you mentioned presenting to the board and seeing that growth in likes and knowing the value of those likes. How do you measure the success of these social media efforts beyond those impressions and likes? Is there a way to actually kind of quantify direct ROI there, or are you seeing it more as part of this larger engine and sequence that just all works together?
Yeah, this is the largest question I get asked. So the first thing I'll say is we spent, $7 million on a Super Bowl. And I think there's 120 million, 140 million impressions max, the biggest Super Bowl anyone's ever watched. The fact that I can bring it off in a month for an insanely less cost is definitely a solid indicator for us as why it's worth it. As for, I can't tell. I wish I could track every single deal of someone that sees us and tell you, hey, we get X amount of deals. I can see signups that come from our social media pages, right? We get anywhere from 20 to 30,000 of those a month, which is great. Those are very valuable to us. A lot of those turn into deals. But some of our largest deals that came in, over the past year or so have came in and said, hey, I first found out about you guys from the social media, right? Love what you're doing on social. Sales says I hear it all the time. They say it's one of the best additions they've had. So I can't tell you exactly how much of our, percentage of our revenue I brought in, but I do know that we don't spend that much. Like I told you, the team's pretty lean. Like I'm already going to have a social media manager anyway. The main thing I'm investing in is the actors. So I'm very confident we're bringing back in to make that worth it. Even if we didn't, most people go out and pay X amount for influencer campaigns and more. I don't have to. And then the last thing I'll really hit on is our ads. Our CAC payback has just really dramatically decreased. And I think the reason is we can use these actors in our ads now, right? You've already seen them before. You've already engaged with them before. We can retarget. So I think by having this strong organic, it's made our ad machine that much stronger. So yeah, I wish there was a magic like link I could put in for every video I make, but it doesn't really work that way. The only thing I can do is I put tracking links into our bios, and I can see that we get a lot of clicks from those. So people are seeing it. We create a custom landing page. I can see how many signups I'm getting from that. So definitely happy with it, and would love if I can, if I can just come in and say, hey, this came from that, this came from that. But I know that, we closed VaynerMedia, very, very big deal. And they were talking about how they loved our social and saw it early on. So probably our second or third, a very large deal from last year.
Can you talk a little bit about the community you've built? From what I know, there's a pretty strong and pretty engaged community surrounding ClickUp. Also, can you talk a little bit about like what's enabled you to build that, like what the strategy was?
Yeah, look, I give all hats off to, we hired Trish Sanderson, who came from Yelp. She leads our community. She's insane. I mean, they challenged her for doing one event a week, like these private, we call them secret suppers. And she's now ramped it up to 2, and I think they're going to make her do 3. But our community, I think, is so strong because, we have this cool content. That definitely helps. But we have these special dinners all the time for clients, for prospects. And they're at very nice restaurants. And, we come in, we don't oversell. We might play a funny video from us. We will talk a little bit, answer their questions, show them the roadmap, whatever they want to see. So I got to give all hats off to her. I think we have one of the best community teams in the game. We also tap into big events. Like if was it Startup San Diego, I think was throwing an event last week. We let them do it at our office. We took care of everything, hosted. Also, what they built is we built ClickUp Verified. I actually started ClickUp Verified as an idea I had way back, but Trish has taken over and has crushed. But it's an idea where if you use ClickUp a lot, you get a check, just like an Instagram, get that verification check. And within that, you can now get points for any action you do. So let's say you like create a social media post for ClickUp, or you engage with some of our stuff, you can get points, and then you can go buy swag. You can get invited to custom events, things like that. So I think we get badges for using ClickUp a lot. We get badges for being ambassador, talking about it. You get access to these cool events. You get new swag. And I think in our social, we're cool. We chat back with everybody. We're not, we don't BS, a lot in our Reddit and things like that. We keep it pretty real. So I think that's really allowed us to build that community. Again, we made an album, right? We made a rap album that got a ton of views. I think people like that we do stuff like that, and we're a little different. So I think it's a whole mix. I think there's a lot of little actionable items you can take away, and one would be host dinners. Be there for your people, hang with them. 2, I think create content they actually enjoy. Stop selling to them all the time. You sell to them enough, right? When it's time to buy, people know when they want to buy. If they like you, you'll be in that decision. So stop trying to sell them every time. Like they'll find your features when they want to. You don't have to put it in their face all the time. And lastly, I think a lot of these like trips, like we'll bring our CEO out. We'll go, like I go to a lot of these dinners. He'll go. A lot of our exec team is there. So we show a lot of face and we listen and hear our customers out and really take action on what they do. Even Zeb is still in our canny where people can go vote on like what features they want to see. He's still in there talking, listening, like trying to understand why people want what they want. I think the last thing is like building for a community too, like building products people like and allowing other people to build off and collaborate with your tool.
I'm sure it never happens, but in the event that you ever did receive criticism or negative feedback on social media, what would how would you handle that? And if it has ever happened even once, what did you learn from it?
Sure. I mean, I have at the beginning when I first started trying to do this kind of content, I had some employees like, hey, I don't know if I love this. Like, shouldn't we be more serious? Like, I definitely have people question it. And I respect it. I respect the question, but I had to say, look, I really believe in this. I have backing behind this. I know other CEOs. I don't think this is going to lose any business. If it does, let me know. So I had some pushback from my own employees, and I've definitely had it's actually really rare now, but I think as it was going, I had a few people say it, or, like, hey, does this, and I always get that, like, hey, does this add revenue, and I think it's cool. Keep thinking that way, because I guarantee your videos aren't doing anything to add revenue, right? So what is the difference? One. Secondly, I think I think I'm having too much fun to worry too much about it. If I hurt anything, sure, I'm not like egotistical. I'd be down to adapt and change. But now it's become a very big story of ClickUps. It's probably the reason why we're interviewing today. And I get help to speak on stage about it. So I think I'll keep sharing it. And if the sentiment ever changes, I'm always down to listen. I'm always down to hear it out. And there's definitely been a video I think we've taken it too far, and that's probably why we have legal checking. So you never do anything good if you don't dance on the line, right? So I'm down to hear when something isn't going to be good, or if they're like, hey, this doesn't represent the brand well, then I'm always, it's a no.
So Chris, one question I always love to ask people, is you've been doing this for a while. We've been doing this for a while. We've seen a lot of change in B2B marketing, what works, what doesn't work. I think the last 2 years or so has been where we've seen the most change in the shortest amount of time. And I think there's been some good things, some bad things. Curious to hear, like, from your perspective, like, what are some trends that you're seeing that you're excited about and that you welcome? And what are some things you're seeing right now play out in B2B marketing that you're just like, man, like, let's get past this already?
I don't like the trend of saying you can use AI to create all your content. Like, I hate that trend. I'm sure you can, but I mean, just think about what AI is, right? It's taking the average, like, best answer, right? So like, if you want to look at like the average thing and look like everyone else and not separate, you can do that. But I think using AI to come up with ideas or to streamline or to all that is amazing. But I'm sick of hearing that, like, AI is just, all you need to do is just make AI content all the time. I don't think so. I don't like watching it. I think you can see it by the views. It's starting to slow down a lot. Like, those who think they can just make an AI voice and an AI background and AI B-roll, it's just not interesting, right? I think the beauty of social has always been to stand out. It's always been to be different. So I think using AI for all of it just completely ruins that chance for you to do that. Trends that I like that I'm seeing, I really think, I've said this 2 years ago, I'll say it again today, I think every company is going to have an in-house creator. So it used to be like you need to be a media company, but being a media company has changed, right? Like, a lot of people get their news from a creator. So I think they need to get on board and figure it out quickly that you need to have some type of creator, because there's only been so much space, for all these eyeballs. So I think you got to figure out how to grab your own and get your own audience while you can.
Oh, that's a really interesting perspective. So you're seeing that move almost like whatever that was, 2007, 2008, when more companies started, saying like, oh, let's think like a brand publication, right?
Yeah, I think the same. I think now it's like it's the same. It's the same thing they said in 2007 or probably like 2008. But I think the difference is here is like it's a different world, right? Like, it doesn't mean like make your commercials so good, because I don't know that many people who watch commercials anymore. I mean, they still have a hit every now and again, but not really. Like, there's none that you and I could talk about we've seen the past 2 weeks right now that stood out to us, right? Because we're not watching them. But we can tell you a good social media video we saw.
So looking back, what are you most proud of in your journey with ClickUp so far?
Closing our first deal was a special moment for me. Not knowing if anyone was ever going to buy this tool, not knowing if it was going to work, working at it for a year, making call after call after call, just wondering if anyone was ever going to say yes. I'd never heard so many no's in my life. I had to really get resilient for that. And, I'll never forget Perry Worth. We're still friends today. Shout out Perry, at Accenture, first guy who ever paid for ClickUp. And I didn't have pricing. I didn't even know how to take his payment. I made up pricing on the spot. He bought 3 seats for the year for his jiu-jitsu company he had on the side. And I had no idea to take the payment. We lived in a house together in Palo Alto. I ran to the other side of the house, just deal in. They were like, what? Like, someone's paying for it now? I was like, yeah, I know. It's not really. And the product wasn't even really that great yet, but he saw how we were shipping. He believed in our mission and what we were talking about. And then, he bought. And I had to figure out how to take a payment from them and go back and then call them and get the payment. And also, I think our first really big deal, Home Depot was a pretty big one. Closing Randstad was the one where I remember, they were at the end, they were like, we're not your biggest customer, right? And I was like, no, like, we've got plenty of good sized customers. And, as soon as Zeb had built this machine that would, it would blow sirens throughout the office for every like dollar that came in. And, most of our deals were like $400, $800. This one was like, $100,000. So all of a sudden, like, the sirens, and they got louder for like the numbers. So the office is just going nuts. We're in this little office in San Francisco, only like 20 employees at the time. Our office is going crazy. And we had a landline at the time, and they call back about a billing question. And I'm like, oh, I cannot let them hear us celebrating that we just closed this deal. So I had to like hang out the window and kind of close it to speak to them and deal with the billing question. So they didn't know that, we were just celebrating that we somehow closed them.
That's such a good story.
Yeah, I was just starting to write this morning about like our first time ever getting paid to do a creative project. Jay, I don't know if you remember, but it was that article about the 100 best books for men, or 100 books that men should read. Chris, we got paid like, I think it was $100 back in 2000.
75.
Was it 75? Okay, thanks. Back in 2008.
I'll take it.
For about 30 hours of combined work.
You got to do that stuff though, right? Like,
but yeah, it's like there's nothing like the dopamine hit of that first deal, that first paid gig. And then I think like just from a storytelling perspective, like especially for like people that have an entrepreneurial bent or that are aspiring entrepreneurs, like hearing tales of like how people have actually gone from 0 to 1. Like I don't know if there's anything more inspiring than that. So I love when people share stories like you just did. That's so cool.
It's one of my favorite parts of life.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Now I'm down.
Jay, is that bringing back memories?
Now I'm like down memory lane.
I see him thinking over here.
Yeah, no. Well, no, I was just telling somebody the other day about our one of our first clients. I mean, the first one that paid us more than $75. But we were on back in the day with social, on sites like Dig and Reddit and stuff. You could post your instant messenger on your profile. So like adding people to GChat and MSN Messenger and Skype and whatever, basically to like assemble a voting ring for your content.
It's a pretty smart idea, actually.
Yeah, and so people are always like, "Hey, can you submit? Can you add a comment? Can you add a like?" And just a lot of publishers, small bloggers, and stuff. But this one guy asked me to submit something for him, like a contest, and I was like, "I don't think a contest is going to do really well." And he's like, "Oh, we're engineers. We don't know anything about marketing." And I was like, "Oh, we can do all your marketing for you." Like me and my two friends.
But it's a big
he's like, "Oh, we're looking at marketing proposals right now." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I'll send one over to you." And then I truly stayed up all night, like till 6 a.m, sending all these messages on Skype and whatever, asking people like, "Hey, have you ever sent a marketing proposal? Can you send me an example of a marketing proposal?"
What does it look like?
And I got 2 examples to reference. So yeah, it was funny. They wanted like SEO, events, social, and blog content. We're like, okay, let's do each one of those for $3,000 each, and we got on with them, and we're like, okay, it's gonna be $3,000 for each module, $12,000 total. They're like, our budget's only $6,000 a month, and we're like, okay, we can do that. Zero negotiation.
Yeah, you know what? 50% off is no problem.
Yeah, we can be flexible on pricing right now.
You guys are super nice. Like we'll do this for you. And in the early days, sorry, I was saying one last thing. It has to be the same. We wanted to look like we were bigger than we are. So we answered all the customer service, but we had like female names. Like one is still the name we use today. I'm blanking on her name, Katie Shore. But we had like just these made up names, and we would be responding because we just want to look like we were a little bigger than we were. And it's funny because some people like got a little like too close to the reps and like sent mail. And we didn't know what to tell them to send the mail. Can we send you a gift? I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's so funny to hear this stuff, man. Like the early days, you got to do whatever you can to make it work.
Oh man, that's so funny. My first business that I had that kind of got me down the road of online marketing, because I just had to figure out SEO to survive. I at the time had a cat, and his name was Phil, and I didn't want people to think that my company was just a one-person company, which it was at the time. So I was like, all right, well, how do I make this seem more legit? So I created an email address for my cat, Phil, and that's how I communicated with like different people, depending on the circumstances.
So you put Phil to work too. What about they want to talk to Phil on the phone? What happened?
He was just always out on errands or that's so funny, man. This is like the
yeah.
Oh man, Chris, this has been great. Before we drop, is there anything you're working on right now, or anybody you're working with that you want to, give a shout out to?
I think the big thing now is like I hit 200 million. Now my goal is 300 million. So anyone wants to help me get there, has any cool ideas, let me know. But yeah, I think that's it, man. I'm just, working with ClickUp, chasing this thing until we go public. That's my mission. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So I think that's the main thing for me. I gave away all I'm doing, how I do it. Now I'm just trying to do it at a bigger scale. So I'll go learn, and maybe we can do this again. I'll have some new tips for you, but that's what I got. That's what I got for now.
Yeah, for sure. Lastly, for people that want to, find you online, follow you, follow ClickUp, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, we're just at ClickUp on all socials, and then I'm at Cunningham on Instagram, or Chris ClickUp on X and LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah, man, had a blast.